Welcome to Christie's Corner, where we talk about culture, conservatism, Christianity, and common sense, not necessarily in that order. I'm so glad you could join me tonight, or if you're watching it on the replay. I tried doing this live last night and it didn't work. I still haven't figured out the software that I bought. I still have no clue how to do production and make a video that's interesting. So you get to just listen to me again. But anyway, special shout out to my subscribers, Joe and Johanna, Anthony, Venus, and Karina. Thank y'all so much for your support. I'm truly grateful. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. All right, got that out of the way. And let's see. Special shout out to MMA Fix. Man, he gave me a shout out on his channel, and that was really cool. Listen, if you like MMA, mixed martial arts, or ultimate fighting, give him a follow on or watch him on YouTube. He's got a really, really cool channel. He's a neat guy too. So just, check him out. All right, cool. And then one last piece of housekeeping. Very important. Please give a follow on X to @JasonT.Labrada. Jason's been very supportive of me, and I'm very grateful. He's a good dude. He's on Mr. Reagan's show, and he just trying to build that X channel. So give him a follow, JasonT.Labrada, or @JasonT.Labrada. All right, cool. Well, like I said, I'm really new at this, you guys, and I'm doing the best I can. But this week, I wanted to talk about Tisha B'Av. I better keep my notes here. What is it? Why do I want to talk about it? Why did I put miracles in the description? Okay, so as you know, perhaps you do or you don't know, that the Jewish calendar and their holidays, their calendar is based on a lunar and solar calendar. So the holidays move every year. And that's why sometimes Passover falls on the same weekend as Easter, and sometimes it doesn't. So what brought this to my attention was how in the news, now I understand the missiles are flying today. So Israel is under attack again today from in the north from Hezbollah. But when I put this idea together, it was a couple weeks ago, and we kept hearing in the news over and over that Israel was going to be attacked by Iran. All right, and we all know the buildup of Iran's nuclear weapons program and how each administration has been trying to not let that happen. Well, I say each administration, boy, that's not the truth, is it? How some administrations have tried to block Iran from becoming nuclear because they vowed every Friday, they yell death to America, death to Israel, death to the great Satan, and death to the little Satan. So this has been a deal for a long time, as most of you guys know about it. Anyway, so the news started talking. So Israel took out from the October 7th attacks. They had a retaliation and assassination of. They kept talking about it, but they didn't attack. And I thought, what's the holdup? You know, why are they telling us it's so imminent, and they're really pushing it, and it wasn't happening? And I even asked my mother-in-law. I said, "What do you think, Mom? Why do you think they're not attacking yet?" And Mom said, "Well, I think it's because Iran's going to get their nuclear weapons, and they're waiting until that program's online, and boom." Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but interesting take. But then it dawned on me that we were in the first 2 weeks of August, and Tisha B'Av falls in the first 2 weeks of August, depending on the year in their calendar. And it's known as the saddest day in Judaism. Why? Well, I just think it's fascinating. First of all, I support Israel. I've said that before on this channel. I don't support Israel just because, there's so many reasons to support Israel, with the top being the Lord told me to. God told me to. It's in the Bible, Genesis 12:3. I will bless those who bless thee, and I will curse those who curse thee. And if you want to get into the minutia of whether or not Israel really is a nation, and the Candace Owens controversies going on of how she has turned on them. You know, she had a necklace. I've got my little, what is it? We've got the menorah. I'll write my fingers in it. The menorah, the Star of David, and the Christian fish. You can't really see. There we go. So that's my little Messianic Jewish thing. I'm not Jewish. I just started. I followed a Messianic Jew in the 80s, Zola Levitt. He was in Dallas. I had moved to Houston, and he was on television there. And he was a Messianic Jew who taught from Israel, taught the Bible from Israel, New Testament, believed in Jesus, believed that Jesus truly was the Jewish Messiah who fulfilled all of the prophecies in the Old Testament and would come again in the future. And Zola Levitt was a dispensationalist. He believed in an imminent rapture, which I do as well. Okay, back to Tisha B'Av. Why is it the saddest day in Judaism? Well, it all started back when, okay, if you have not seen the movie The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, I strongly suggest it. It's a fantastic movie. It explains the Passover holiday very well. It explains why the Jews left, how they got it. Well, it doesn't explain how they got enslaved in Egypt, but it explains the Exodus in the Old Testament. So I strongly suggest seeing that movie. Well, in that movie, you see that towards the middle of the movie, the Jews have followed Moses out of Egypt. God has set them free. He's worked miracle after miracle after miracle. He has appeared to them in the form of a pillar of and a cloud by day for them to follow. He fed them in the desert with manna from heaven, which was like dew that turned into cakes, and they could eat it, but they couldn't save it for the next day or it would rot. So they had to trust that God was going to give them this manna every day. It's a really neat story. Moses struck the rock and water came out. So they're in the desert, leaving Egypt, going to the promised land, to Israel. And all these miracles are happening. Well, they get to Mount Sinai, which is kind of on the border of Egypt and Israel. They get to Mount Sinai, and God calls Moses up to the top of the mountain, and he's going to give him the 10 commandments of the law. So Moses is up there for quite a while, and the Jews, remember that they've been in Egypt for 400 years. They have been around this pagan culture for all this time. So, there were devout priests who kept the religion alive, the Jewish religion. I know what I'm doing. I'm looking at the mic instead of the camera. Anyway, they kept the religion alive, but the people were used to this paganism, and Moses is gone all this time. And even though God has been working all these miracles in front of them, they're getting restless, irritable, and discontent, and they're not liking it. And so they talk Aaron into building them a golden calf. And the movie does a pretty good job of it. Moses comes down the mountain, sees the golden calf, sees everybody messing up, takes the 10 commandments, throws it at the calf, and 20,000 Jews are killed right then, instantly. The movie shows it as an earthquake and them falling in the earthquake. And it was a punishment. It was a punishment for disobedience, for not trusting God, for deciding to choose an idol over God. And that was on Tisha B'Av. That was the first recorded Tisha B'Av, 9th of Av. So they left Egypt in the spring, Passover. They wander through the desert. They get to the Mount Sinai. And then there in August, boom, the first real punishment. The second one was when they sent, again, right around the same time, the next year, they send the spies into Israel to spy out the land. And gosh, was it the next year? That's interesting. I'll have to look that up. I don't think it said clearly in my notes whether it was the next year. But anyway, the next one was the spies were to go into the land and spy out Israel, that God had told them to go and take the land and had promised it to them. And they come back with a report that, yeah, it's great. There's fruit. It's the land flowing of milk and honey. Yeah, it's amazing. Except the descendants of Anak are there, the Nephilim. Oh my gosh, what are the Nephilim? It's a whole nother topic that I love to talk about. But we'll talk about that in another show. So the point is, those spies didn't trust God. They were being disobedient again. And God said, fine, you're not going in the land. You'll have to stay out here in the desert until you die off, and your kids are going to get to inherit the land. And that was on Tisha B'Av. So those are the first two biggies. And I had in my notes that it was like 1312 BCE was the Passover desert one. Anyway, so in 1242, Europe kicked all the Jews out. England kicked all the Jews out of Europe, or UK Europe. That was on Tisha B'Av. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That was on Tisha B'Av. And the reason Columbus sailed the ocean blue is because Spain kicked all the Jews out of Spain on Tisha B'Av. World War One. We all know that World War One started with the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. We know it was building. The dictator in Prussia was getting out of hand, taking control. Europe was just on. We'd had the Napoleonic Wars. Anyway, we're not going to get into war here. But when did World War One start? With that assassination, the guns started firing on Tisha B'Av. World War II, another terrible happening for the Jews, Tisha B'Av. So it's known as the saddest day in Judaism because all of these things have happened. So when Iran was going to, when it was in the news, day after day, every hour they were reporting, well, Israel's getting ready for an attack from Iran. Israel's getting ready. And they did an attack. I got to quit looking at that microphone. And they did an attack. I realized, oh my gosh, they're going to attack on Tisha B'Av. That's what's going to happen. But they didn't. And let me tell you why they didn't. This is the part that really got to me. And I've only seen one person talking about this online. It was Mark Hitchcock, who I follow. I really recommend him. Fantastic preacher, great videos. Anyway, Mark had mentioned it, that on Monday night at 11:59, Tisha B'Av this year fell on August 12th, Monday, August 12th. Monday night, August 12th at 11:59, a 4.8 earthquake struck in Lebanon and Syria, burying the Hezbollah tunnels, covering weapons, totally messing everything up, and probably stopped that imminent attack. So that's where I think a miracle happened. I think October 7th, I don't know if that was a punishment from God or not. I don't know what holiday that fell on. I know that the occult and the supernatural forces really like numbers and really like days. A lot of people believe that Jesus was born on 9/11, and that's why Satan loves to use that number. Not just 2000, but some other things have happened on 9/11 throughout history. So, I know why I mentioned October 7th. I'm sorry, I lost track there. So this year, Tisha B'Av was extremely poignant because of October 7th. So what happens in their culture for 17 days as Tisha B'Av approaches, what's wrong with my mouth? For 17 days as Tisha B'Av approaches, the Jews spend that time in mourning, known as the saddest day, as I mentioned. They take 17 days, set it apart, and spend it in mourning over the destruction of the temple. I think I left out 70 AD. Did I leave out both temples? Yeah, I jumped to 1492, didn't I? 1242. I left out the temple destruction. So going back just a minute, in 586 BC, when Nebuchadnezzar went to Jerusalem and took captive all of the Israelites and carried them back as slaves to Babylon, Tisha B'Av. 70 AD, Tisha B'Av, the temple was destroyed. The thumbnail I have up is 70 AD. That's famous painting for when the Romans destroyed the temple in 70 AD and the diaspora happened. They scattered the Jews all over the world. So we have all of these things that have happened on Tisha B'Av, and we know the first two were punishment, and the rest of it, 586 BC was definitely punishment, and maybe 70 AD as well because of rejection of Jesus. But anyway, this year was extremely poignant because they were mourning October 7th. I think it was yesterday or the day before we got 6 more hostages back that were deceased. So, we're living in some very interesting times. Troy said the other night that this is as a prophetic time to be alive as when Jesus walked the earth. I think he's right. I think that's absolutely correct. And it's good and bad. So the good news is, wow, God is working miracles every day. He always has been, but he promised that in the end times, supernaturalism was going to get stronger. Unfortunately, the bad news is that Satan's going to get more powerful, and his miracles are going to be deceiving many, many, many people. So this is not going to be a super long live stream. I wanted to talk about Tisha B'Av and miracles. The argument I often get from my non-believing friends is, okay, so if God did the earthquake to stop the attack on Israel, what about, was anyone hurt in the earthquake? Was he punishing them? And I don't break it down like that. I just flat out don't. I believe that God is in charge. I believe that there are not There's not one random molecule in the universe, not one. Every single thing is ordered by him. Um, why does he allow evil? I don't know. I know that I don't know the full answer. I know the answer that I accept, and that is that with free will comes the choice of good and evil. If I didn't have free will, I wouldn't be able to choose good or evil. So evil in that respect had to be alive, had to be here. Anyway, hey, Anthony Mark is here. How about that, Anthony? Howdy. What's going on, man? I'm just sitting here rambling away, trying to do this Tisha B'Av a second time. What's going on? You want to talk about anything in specific? Give me a chat. What's happening? So miracles. Anthony and I were messaging each other. I wanted to talk about Vatican II in the 60s because it came up that Candace Owens had become anti-Semitic or was getting that way because her husband, let me see if I can get this right. Her husband was, now Anthony, I need your help with this, that her husband was a Catholic who did not accept Vatican II. That, and Mel Gibson was the same form of Catholic. And I'm not Catholic, so I don't know. I know how the church started. I know history, but I don't know current that well. But something about in Vatican II, there is a statement of faith or a restatement of faith, but it says that anti-Semitism is not acceptable by the church, that no matter what had happened in the past, no matter what the history was, anti-Semitism was not acceptable. It was the 60s. It was, who was your Pope then? It was before John Paul, the guy with the pretty face, the moon face. Anyway, and so if Candace's husband does not accept Vatican II and doesn't accept that anti-Semitism is unacceptable by the church, then that might explain part of this recent spat that she has about Israel. I know a lot of Christians who believe in replacement theology. What time is it? I have to watch the time because I think this is a 30-minute stream. Christians who believe in replacement theology are also tend to not accept Israel as a nation. Replacement theology means that every time you see the word church in the Bible, every time you see the word Israel in the New Testament, you replace that with the word church. Hence the term replacement theology. And I think that's straight out of the pit of hell. I really do. And I'll tell you why. If the prophecies for the last days are of the dispensation that we're living in the church ages and the ages were split up, and that the rapture is going to be imminent, and I'm kind of jumping around here, but and there's my kitty cat who sounds like she's dying, but she's not. She wants to play and she gets very adamant about it. Anyway, if the rapture is imminent and the end times prophecies were written to the Jews, and that the Jews, the way they're written, for it to truly make sense. I love all the cats. I do too. I have 3. We have 3 cats, 2 dogs, 4 chickens, and 2 rabbits. And we have baby rabbits occasionally. Right now, we're not breeding. Anyway, if the rapture is imminent and the prophecies are written to Israel, and Israel has to be back in land, especially for like the Ezekiel 38 Gog and Magog war, then we absolutely cannot dismiss Israel. And even if it's Ashkenazi Jews, and even if you can't trace your tribe, God is a God of miracles. He's not going to let it get messed up. That's another reason I believe in the Bible completely, 100%. I take it completely literally, because I believe that if God is God, if there's not one random molecule in the universe, I think I have a cat hair on me, if he is the author and finisher of my faith, our faith, then he's not going to let his word get messed up, folks. It's not going to happen. It's going to be perfect because he's perfect. The people writing it were not perfect. He uses us fallen instruments all the time to carry out his purpose. I can't wait to get to heaven. I'm not in a hurry, I mean, I have a survival instinct just as strong as anybody else, pretty darn strong. But I cannot wait to see my Jesus face to face and to see what God's purpose was in this whole thing. The mysteries, to get the mysteries revealed. My goodness gracious. I think we're all going to be quite surprised to find out just what being in the presence, direct presence of love really is. Because that's another thing God says about himself all through the Bible, that he is love, that his essence is love, that he is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That is a relationship of love. Man, I can't imagine. How many cats do you have, Anthony? Do you have cats? uh, yeah, my youngest dog just got spayed 2 days ago. She's part husky with one blue eye and one brown eye and looking more like a coyote every day. The sire was supposed to be a blue heeler Labrador type dog, but this little girl does not look like she has one bit. There's not a brindle mark on her. She is brown with white tip and black, and her tail's getting bushy and little white socks. Yeah, she's looking like a coyote, which is possible. I think you can have 2 sires per heat cycle. Anyway, well, I think that's going to be it for tonight. I finally got my Tisha B'Av. Hopefully this is going to stay on the internet this time. I deleted last night because it was so awful. But practice, right? Okay, so one last thing, politics. All right, wait, here's Anthony. Had various cats from 1989 to 2016. Oh, no pet building. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, I'm sorry that you don't have any pets right now, Anthony, but hopefully it's a very nice building and a nice apartment or a nice home. So I bet it is. You seem like such a nice guy. Okay, so politics. I was going to touch on that real quick. I just wanted to say that I am vote Trump. Vote Trump 2024. Trump 2020. Trump bans 2024. We're getting real close to communism, you guys. This is not socialism anymore. This is not the small doses of socialism that Khrushchev said he would feed us little by little. He'd feed our leaders small enough doses of socialism that eventually we'd find that we woke up and we're in a communist country. We're just about there, guys. So most important election ever. Please vote for Kamala. And all right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful evening and a great rest of the week. And I'll see you next week, if not before. God bless. Take care, guys. Bye, Anthony. Bye, everyone. Let's see. End stream. There we go. And end.